Hello everyone. In this video, we'll talk about which long pips without sponge are best for defensive play. This video is intended for amateur players. If you plan to become a top 100 player in the world, you can watch too, but you better train 24/7 with a member of the Chinese national team. If you are interested in the defensive style of play but doubt its competitiveness, watch our video on this topic. We explain it in detail so you can rest easy. Now, I'll say a couple of fundamental things. First, there are no absolutely best pips, as people have different tastes and blade preferences. Second, for some players, long pips with a thin sponge might be the best option. So, what are the options among OX long pips? The first option is no friction pips. There was a time when such pips were popular. They were called Super Block, Monster, Boomerang, Inferno, Scalpel. But then ITTF carried out some dubious actions, leading to the complete discontinuation of these excellent no-friction pips. Many fans of these pips were disappointed. If you like frictionless pips, share your thoughts about this situation in the comments. Frictionless pips were great for playing at the table, but they weren't suitable for defense. You could defend with them, but it made little sense. By the way, the player on the right is using modern frictionless pips now. We have them in our store, and we've already reviewed them. Next, pips with weak or minimal friction. These pips can be used for defense, although they are the least suitable for skilled defense. They allow you to return the ball with a chop and vary the spin to some extent. Some can block from a distance, but not all. This applies to pips in any category. They may or may not allow distant blocking. These are generally intended for occasional defensive play when you were driven away from the table but are trying to get back. For playing mainly in defense, they might work if you don't care much about effectiveness. Perhaps you play primarily for fun, glued on the first pips you found, and feel comfortable with them. In that case, you can keep playing with them and consider them suitable. If you're just starting to learn defensive play, these pips will be sufficient. If you already have pips from this category, use them confidently without worrying. If you play at a low amateur level, these pips will likely be enough for you. While we're making interesting and useful videos and reviews for you, visit our TT Maximum store more often for shopping. That will be the best way to thank us for our videos. Next, pips with medium friction. These pips are also not aimed at defense, they are more versatile. What's the difference from the previous ones? They have more grip, so they react more strongly to incoming spin and can create spin. They also allow for greater variation in the spin of the incoming ball. In defense, they offer more possibilities, so for many amateur players who want to play defensively, they will be suitable. These pips can compete even at the very high level. But if you want to play as effectively as possible, choose the next category. Next, pips with strong friction. Playing at the table with these long pips is difficult or at least inconvenient because blocking against topspin is challenging. There is a high risk that the ball will go off the table. But that's normal, as these pips are intended for defensive play. In defense, they allow you to chop a flat ball, resulting in a backspin. You can increase or decrease the spin of the incoming ball to the maximum extent. You can vary the spin as much as your skill level allows. If you aim for maximum defensive effectiveness, choose these pips. Just keep in mind that these pips don't perform all those cool defensive tricks by themselves. If you have enough skills, everything will be okay. If you lack skills, these pips might do more harm than good until you learn. By the way, while I'm sharing all this secret information, please click the like and subscribe button. Now let's look at long pips in terms of speed. The speed of different long pips can vary greatly. First option, slow pips. They can be successfully used for defense at any level. It will just be slow and the ball will fly short. You will need to stronger push the ball forward quite a bit during defense. Medium speed pips. A common category that many people play with, and you can play with them confidently. Fast pips. You might think they are harder to hit the table with, but that's true for short distances. For long distances, it's the opposite. If you already have a sweeping technique, these pips might not suit you. But if you defend with short movements or are slow and lack time, these pips will come in handy. Because being far from the table, you can reach the opponent's table with a relatively short movement. In other words, play long. For example, if you often don't have time to swing your hand and push the ball during defense, and it often doesn't reach the opponent's table because of this, fast pips will add about a meter to the flight distance. This is really convenient. You will get used to the difficulties at short distances and adapt. That's all. If you have any questions about this topic, ask them in the comments below the video. Bye, everyone.